Are you able to see this product-led growth?
No, sir, we are not able to.
You're not able to see? Give me a second. Your video isn't working. There's some issue. Give me a second. I'll now try to share it. Is it visible now?
Yeah, it's visible. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. So what I want you to do is for the next 40 minutes, we'll talk about what are mental models, what are first principles, how do we understand better things, right? And towards the last 10-15 minutes, I'll open it for a Q&A, and I have some questions which already Ayush had shared with me. So I'll try to answer most of those questions which are important, and we'll open it for the audience to effectively ask any questions which they feel like regarding first principles or product management in general. Does that make sense? Give me a yes in the chat. I want at least the chat to be very, very awesome. So give me a yes in the chat, and I just want everybody to just give me a yes. Whereas the chat in the channel is only available to team members. So
Yeah,
other people, can they respond on the chat or they can't?
yeah, yeah.
I need just give me a yes in the chat and I will start. I don't think it is available to other people.
So they can use the chat. Like, okay, so you can't see the chat since you're not part of the business club IITBHU team on
Okay.
Microsoft.
Okay. Got it. Got it. Okay. So you let me know if everybody is visible. I will start quickly start. Okay. Cool. So the first thing that we want to talk about is what is the first principle. ये first principle क्या होता है यार? पहले तो मुझे ये बताओ. Everybody should understand what is the first. A first principle is a fundamental building block of an idea. It is a building block which cannot be subdivided further. Like a very simple example, we are made up of cells. Cell से नीचे कोई छोटी चीज नहीं होती. Right? So cell is the first principle. A cell is something that you think about, that you will add more cells to become a body part or become an organ, but there is nothing that you can go beyond a cell, right? Similarly, a first principle is an idea which cannot be further broken. There is some noise coming from your side. I don't know. Please, hello? Yeah, yeah, correct. So another example that I want to put across in a first principle is it is an idea which cannot be subdivided. It is like an axiom. जब हम यूक्लिड के axioms पढ़ते थे, तो we talked about that a line is straight. It's a first principle. It cannot be further broken. Or mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. To put this into perspective, the smallest subcategory of a thought is the first principle, right? अब मैं एक छोटा सा example. Let me do a small exercise with you guys. So my question is, let's assume today I say you want to go from Chandigarh to Delhi, and I give you two options. The first option is a Mercedes. The second option is a Tata Nano. Which bike or which car will you choose? A Mercedes or a Tata Nano?
Actually,
Give me an example. Anybody can respond. If I tell you that you have to go from a location A to location B, and I give you two options, that the first option is a car called Tata Nano, the second option is a Mercedes, what would you choose? 90% of the people. Anybody wants to raise hand and answer this?
Okay, Mr. Satyam said Mercedes in the chat box. Basically, everyone is saying Mercedes.
Okay, so the first thing that you noticed is that everybody wants to go in a Mercedes, right? It's very simple. Now, what does this tell you at a very fundamental level? That anything that gives you happiness or gives you comfort, right, is an experience that you want to repeat again and again, right? It's anything that gives you comfort, gives you some amount of happiness. It's a first principle, right? That anything that is comfortable to you guys will give you happiness. That's the first principle. Now if I ask this question to you 10 times, will your answer change? My question is, if I ask you the same question 10 times, 10 बार मैं पूछूंगा चंडीगढ़ से दिल्ली जाना है, क्या will you choose any time nano? 90% of the people every time will choose a Mercedes. So the second first principle is anything that gives you happiness, you want to repeat that experience. First principle is anything that gives you comfort gives you happiness. Second first principle is anything that gives you happiness, you want to repeat it. Once you merge these two first principles together, like anything that gives you comfort gives you happiness, anything that gives you happiness gives you a repeated experience. So anything that gives you happiness is effectively equal to that you will repeat that experience again and again. तभी हम product में बोलते हैं जो चीज तुम्हारे लिए चीजें आसान कर देती हैं, anything that makes you easier, you repeat that experience. For example, another example that I want to give you is, how many of you still go to restaurant and order food? I don't think, rarely. Most of the people would use Swiggy. Why do you Swiggy or Zomato? The reason, very simple. It's the first principle. It solved your problem. It gave you the right food. It gave you the right price. It gave you convenience. So you repeat that experience. आज की डेट में कोई ऐसा बंदा है जो घर से निकलता है, बाइक पे जाता है, फिर खाना लेके आता है, फिर वापस अपने घर पहुंचता है? Nobody does that. So a first principle is a fundamental building block which cannot be sub-broken. That's the first part. And once you tie 2 or 3 first principles, you build a mental model. Mental model is something like a depiction of reality. Basically, a mental model is a collection of first principles. Make sense? Yahan tak baat clear hai? So, generally kya hota hai? A mental model is an explanation of thought process of how something works in the real world using a string of first principles. Now, next. So, the next thing that I want to tell you today is, what is a product? Now, can somebody want to speak on this? What is a product according to you guys? Any answer, anything on the chat? I cannot see the chat, but you can probably tell me. What is a product?
You can also unmute yourself and say the answer.
Yeah. If you want to talk about it, what is a product according to you guys? चलो कोई बात नहीं, मैं ही बात करता हूँ. Let me talk. Okay. Somebody wants to talk. Please go ahead. Yeah.
So can I quit?
Yeah. Please go ahead.
Basically, product is something maybe physical or digital, which gives the user some sort of experience.
Okay.
That problem.
Sorry, I couldn't hear your voice, but it's okay. So a product, to define in simpler terms, is an experience which solves a user pain point and gives a 10x better experience, right? And how does it give a 10x better experience? Is by leveraging these first principles. A simple example. First example that I want to give you today is IRCTC. IRCTC जब के आने से पहले, what did we used to do? We used to go to the railway station, stand there in a queue, stay there for 4 hours. फिर ticket मिलेगी या नहीं मिलेगी ये किसी को नहीं पता. That is what used to happen. But after IRCTC, you just log into a website, you spend 15 minutes and you get your ticket. So it was a 10x better experience. So somebody thought that if there is a large connected group of users which can be used through this service called the internet, right? That came from this first principle that the world is connected now, connected through internet. Right? And that is something that people did. Another example that I want to give you is, take the example of UPI. UPI से पहले आप पेमेंट कैसे करते थे? क्रेडिट कार्ड, कभी OTP आता था, कभी नहीं आता था. So things like that. But after UPI, all your payments are so seamless. So somebody thought that basically, if I think about a transactional system and build one system, tie another system to it, basically a bank account should be linked to your phone number. A phone number should be linked to a OTP or basically a passcode, and they build UPI. Another example of a first principle is, so before, take 10-15 years, go 10-15 years back. Nobody thought that an electric car would be as good as a Mercedes or as good as a F1 car. Nobody thought, right? But Elon Musk came and he said कि electric car problem नहीं है. The problem is the assembly of parts. So he effectively said कि I want to make an electric car in such a way and leveraging the first principles of physics so that I can build a very good battery. I can build a very good design. I can build a very good acceleration system. So Tesla is completely built on first principles. What he did is that एक battery pack की value कैसे बढ़ानी है? How do you effectively improve the capacity of a battery pack? They used carbon. They built everything from scratch. So for any product that you want to build across, for any service, right? You leverage a first principle and you solve a user pain point and give a 10x better experience. 10x better experience. Ab any product has 3 core values which make it a great product. The first value is that there should be significant value-based differentiation. I'll give you an example. Second is simplicity of usage. And third is joy of usage. So a product has 3 core values. Number one, a great product. Significant value-based differentiation. Second, simplicity of usage. Third, joy of usage. अब हम इसके बारे में जानते हैं. What do these mean? A great product focuses on core value to the pain point the user has. छोटा सा example. My mother used to buy all the Kashmiri embroidery by traveling in Jammu all across, going to shops from one shop to another shop, और उनको नहीं मिलता था. She never used to get the right kind of embroidery she wants to buy. But with Flipkart, what happened? Now she goes on Flipkart, just searches Kashmiri shawls and clicks on enter, buy now, done. So that's the first significant value-based differentiation. Second, simplicity of usage, right? How many of you guys now realize that whenever you buy a smartphone, it takes you 10 minutes to operate the smartphone, not more than that. 10 minutes में तुम smartphone पूरा समझ जाते हो, WhatsApp कैसे use करना है, क्या use करना है. See, you are using an entirely new device which has so much information, but it takes you only 10 minutes to effectively set up the device and use it. So they have made the flow so simple. Like iPhone, जब भी कोई लेता है ना, if you buy an iPhone, within 10 minutes you will be able to get what exactly you want to put across and what service you want to use. So there is very high simplicity of usage. And the third thing is the element of joy. Most products right now are transactional products. Payment करते हुए किसी को मजा थोड़ी ना आता है. When you do a payment, किसी को मजा नहीं आता. लेकिन Google Pay, why are they trying to gamify the entire payment experience? Because they want you to enjoy that experience so that you have fun. One very good example of this is an example of Duolingo. Duolingo, how many of you have used Duolingo, by the way? Give me a yes or no in the chat. How many people know about this app called Duolingo?
Can you please raise your hands?
Anybody who knows? Okay. So let me, Pallav or okay, Satyam, Prateek, everybody. So, okay. So let's make it like this. If there is a yes or no, just raise your hand. I will typically Satyam, Pallav, Aditya. So Duolingo is a language learning app, right? But they've made it so fun. They made it so fun that effectively when you learn a language, you don't just enjoy learning the language. You enjoy the entire experience. It feels like a game. So you don't come on the app only to learn a language. Learning a language is a byproduct. But what you enjoy is that मेरे को मजा आ रहा है खेलने में, मेरे को मजा आ रहा है. So there are 3 things. Core significant value based differentiation, second simplicity of usage, third joy of usage. And most apps are moving towards joy of usage, right? This is the part of a very good product, and this can only be done once you leverage the first principles, and we are going to talk about more about it. Okay. Now, अब सबसे पहले क्या होता है कि इन फर्स्ट प्रिंसिपल्स को समझने के लिए, if you have to truly understand these first principles, how do you identify a problem is the first question that you need to address. कि कोई भी ऐप थोड़ी ना बना देगा. You don't build anything just for the heck of it, right? So the first principle in identifying a problem is called something as the compassion funnel. Compassion funnel. Compassion का मतलब किसी को पता है? What does compassion mean? कंपैशन का मतलब होता है करुणा. हिंदी में उसका मतलब होता है करुणा. करुणा का मतलब होता है, उसको और सिंपल तरीके से बोले, काइंडनेस. Kindness is the first principle which help you identify problems. I'll tell you how. Okay, let's assume Rachna is a pet lover. For example, I am assuming Rachna is a pet lover. Rachna sees a dog on the road who is starving. What will she do? She will go and pick up the dog, probably give the dog some food, right? So Rachna actually saw the pain of some other person and tried to realize, yeah, this pain of other person, I want to solve it. Or, for example, in COVID, all of your friends, they face some problems. If you know that Rachna's best friend is facing an oxygen shortage problem, so Rachna wo kya karegi? Rachna will say, I wish I could have done something for her. Where does this feeling come from? This comes from compassion, karuna. right? Now, where does compassion lead? Compassion leads to curiosity. So the next step is compassion leads to curiosity. How does curiosity? What I mean by that is, if you see that you are helping a pet, now it is not the problem of just one pet, right? There are millions of pets who are facing the same problem. So Rachna will start thinking, or anybody will start thinking on the lines ki, okay, it is a problem, I realized it's a problem, how do I solve this problem for a large set of people, right? Large set of people. So that is the second step in the compassion funnel. The third step is it leads to passion. Curiosity leads to passion. Ki, okay, I don't want to solve it only for one dog. I want to solve it for all the dogs. So you will be effectively will start looking at solutions which are not simple solutions. Like for example, solving for one dog is you can take the dog to your home and done it. But if tomorrow I tell Rachna, ki Rachna, why don't you do it for 20,000 dogs? Now she will start thinking कि अरे यार ये तो possible ही नहीं है, इसको करना तो बहुत difficult है, right? How do I do it? Do I build a marketplace platform? Do I do something on those lines? So she will start thinking of ideas which are scalable vertically. कि can I do it for 100? Can I do it for 200? Can I do it for 20,000? Can I do it for 40,000? So passion brings that thinking that can I solve this problem at scale, right? And passion then leads to scale of thinking. Like for example, अच्छा सुबह चाय पीनी होती है तुम लोगों को तो तुम क्या करते हो? You go to a shop, you buy milk, and you effectively make tea for yourself, right? Simple, right? But do you know, getting milk delivered at the right time, if I tell you that your milkman is giving you a service, that he's delivering the milk to you at the right time in your apartment, that is for 1 to 10. But if I tomorrow tell you, can you solve this problem for 100 million people? The same problem, getting milk delivered at the same time for 100 million people, then it becomes a hard problem, a very hard problem, right? And that is what is the startup called Milk Basket, which got acquired for $100 million. The same problem क्या है कि दूध सही टाइम पे डिलीवर हो जाए. एक बंदे के लिए ये प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, एक बंदे के लिए it is a simple solution. You go to a shop, you buy milk. But if tomorrow I tell you, do solve this problem for me for 100 million people, what will you do? Then you will have to build a platform. People should be able to buy milk. Then you have to build a supply chain so that there are people who can deliver this milk. You have to build a pricing engine. So any problem at a simpler scale is a simple problem. But as you scale it vertically, it becomes a hard problem. Similarly, एक और example देता हूँ. Tomorrow, if, for example, Pallav or Archit or Ayush start a car rental business, तो एक्सेल पे ये 50 लोगों को गाड़ियां दे देंगे, एक्सेल पे, माइक्रोसॉफ्ट एक्सेल पे. अब मैं पल्लव को यही बोलता हूं, पल्लव, इंस्टेड ऑफ 50 people, give these cars to 50,000 people. Will he be able to manage it in an Excel? It's not possible. It's not possible. So it's not possible, right? So at that point of time, you start thinking about the scale of solution. But scale of solution कहाँ? इसका एक छोटा सा एग्जांपल देता हूं. Do you know how Domino's started? Domino's basically started when Dipinder Goyal actually went to a Pizza Hut and so not Domino's, sorry, Zomato started. Dipinder Goyal actually went to a Domino's, said, I want my pizza, but Domino's was not able to give them the kind of pizza that he wanted. He said, यार ये problem तो सबके साथ होगी कि यार जो खाना मुझे चाहिए वो तो मुझे मिलता नहीं है. And he built Zomato out of it. And he scaled the platform. So the first thing that you have to learn while thinking about a problem is, am I compassionate? Am I looking at other people's problems? So the first actionable point that I want you to take away is, start looking at other people and what are the preferences that they like, not just yourself. अपने से बाहर निकलो. Looking inward से ज़्यादा looking outward. That what is the problem your father faces? What is the problem your mother faces? What is the problem your friend faces? And can you solve this problem in a scalable manner? That's the first principle I want you to take away, which is the art of compassion. यहाँ तक बात clear है? Is this clear to you guys? Give me a yes or no. Just raise your hands if everything is clear to you. Just raise your hands. Awesome. बहुत बढ़िया.
Sorry to interrupt, sir. Sir, can you just provide your email ID once? We will try to add you so that the chat is visible.
Okay, I will. It is SHRAVAN.
Yes.
TICKO
Yes.
23@gmail.com.
Okay. Cool.
Cool. तो यहां तक बात क्लियर हो गई. अब इसी तरह start looking at design. Do you see this iceberg, guys? Give me a yes or no. Rachna, Pallav, Ayush, are you able to see this iceberg?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So in the simplicity of usage, most people when they look at design na, they only look at visual design. They look कि दिख कैसा रहा है. लेकिन उसके पीछे का फर्स्ट प्रिंसिपल पता क्या है? It is the bottommost layer of design is called conceptual design. Basically what it means is, like, for example, why do you think Uber has a map like interface whenever you book a cab? Why do you think they have this interface? Because everybody who wants to book a cab knows the from location and the to location, and they want people to know that this is the time it will take you from going from to from. So that is the conceptual design. Why do you think Google Maps has a map like location? Because it is how people think. Whenever they think of maps, they actually think of a map, and that is their conceptual design. After conceptual design comes information design, that how does the information show. For example, what I mean by that is, why do you think Make My Trip only has only two options, from and to and search? makemytrip.com. The reason for that is because whenever you think of flights, you don't think of price comes later. The first thing that you think of is कि मेरे को कौन सी डेट को जाना है, कितने लोगों को जाना है, और कहां से कहां जाना है. So while you are thinking of design, there are three layers of design which go before you see any visual design. And these three are the first principle in design, right? Conceptual design, information design, interaction design. So you have to start thinking about ki design doesn't only mean the UI, the user interface. It means the entire experience. And that also comes from first principles. You can ask these questions. Why does UPI have only payment options? Why does why do credit card companies only have क्या कहते हैं, this loan functionality as their own only functionality, which is there on credit cards? So bunch of things that you can start thinking about, right? So this comes from a design point of view. Now, how do you develop this art of critical thinking or the art of compassion? The next thing that you effectively have to know is that how do you develop this thinking? One of the very good ways to develop art of critical thinking or art of compassion that we talked about is by developing the art of observation. Observation doesn't necessarily mean words. It also means the body language of the user. For example, how many of you users have realized that whenever you book a Uber cab, the cab driver calls you कि भैया कहाँ पे आना है या दीदी कहाँ पे आना है, and it's so painful कि भैया आपको पता तो है, लोकेशन तो उधर ही है, आप आ जाओ ना. वो बोलते नहीं भैया कहाँ आना है, किधर आना है. Now see, in spite of having an experience where everything is automated, yet people are not feeling good because they have to painfully pick up the call, tell the driver where to come. Ab Uber, if tomorrow solves this problem by observing, by in some way, if they solve the problem, this will give you a very good experience, a very interesting experience, right? So that is what basically means observing. Observation doesn't necessarily mean only words. It also means how people are actually feeling in that situation. Like, for example, I'll give you another example. When your parents, if they want you to wake up early in the morning, right? Generally, most parents want their kids to wake up early in the morning. Once you wake up early in the morning, you do it, but you are always pissed off. कि क्यों उठा दिया जल्दी? So you are observing that that students like you and me don't want to wake up early in the morning. So is there a way we are able to do our jobs effectively in a faster manner late at night only, so that our parents don't tell us to wake up early in the morning? So what I'm trying to put across to you is observation doesn't necessarily only mean words. It also means the fundamental thing, the fundamental behavior of the human, right? And one of the very good ways to develop observation is this statement called, sometimes the best way to gain control is to give control. So let the other person speak. A product manager has to become a very good listener. If you are not a very good listener, you will never become a great product manager. So what you have to do is you have to give control to the person and let them speak their heart out. So sometimes the most abusive calls that you get as a product manager are the most qualified calls. Trust me. मतलब इतनी गालियां मैंने पिछले 7 साल में सुनी है ना, लेकिन उसी की वजह से मैं अच्छा प्रोडक्ट मैनेजर बना हूं. That's the truth. I am being very honest about it, right? So keep the user in the driver's seat, listen to him or her closely, understand what it takes, and boom, build the hypothesis. Now, after you have learned about the problems that the user faces, listen to the user, never direct the user, always listen to the user. You then build a hypothesis. What I mean by hypothesis is that hypothesis is an if statement. Like if there is a mithai wala shop in our locality, mithai sweet selling will never be a problem. So a hypothesis is an if statement, right? So whenever you understand the problem well, after moving from the compassion funnel to the passion funnel, once you understand the problem well, you have taken enough feedback, done all of those things, right? Then you build the hypothesis and say, now this is my hypothesis. This is the product that I want to build, and I want to take it towards completion, or basically build the first version of the product that I want to give to the user. So that, like, I'll give you one very interesting story of me when I was in IIT Roorkee. So one of the problems that we used to face is कि जब भी हमारे एग्जाम्स होते थे तो हमारी जो ये फोटोशॉप वाली ये फोटोकॉपी वाली शॉप्स होती थी ना, दे यूज्ड टू गेट बट लोडेड विद स्टूडेंट्स. हर एक को नोट्स चाहिए, हर एक को नोट्स चाहिए, और सबको एग्जाम से पहले चाहिए. Nobody wants those notes 3 months in advance. Everybody wants those notes 2 days in advance. और किसके साथ होता है? How many of you people just raise your hands who do this behavior? Or how many people?
Yeah, the
बाकी सब
online generation.
Sorry?
ऑनलाइन कॉलेज में बुक्स से
हाँ.
पीडीएफ की जरूरत नहीं थी.
चलो जो भी. तो that is what used to happen. So what I did was I said यार ये प्रॉब्लम तो बहुत लोगों के साथ होगी, ये प्रॉब्लम तो काफी लोगों के साथ होगी, ये तो मैं फेस कर रहा हूं. तो what I did was I did a very simple exercise. I said I collected all the notes of my friends and put it in a Google Drive, right? And I asked and I shared the drive link in my WhatsApp groups link and said जिसको भी नोट्स चाहिए फॉरवर्ड कर दो. और मैंने वो जो लिंक बनाया था वो ट्रैकेबल लिंक रखा था. इट वाज अ ट्रैकेबल लिंक. यू कैन ट्रैक हाउ मेनी पीपल फॉरवर्ड इट. Just make a wild guess within 2 hours how many people effectively forwarded the link. The entire batch did. The entire batch within 2 hours. So I looked at a problem from a compassion point of view, saying that this is the problem everybody faces, right? Then I moved towards passion. Ki what is the simplest way I can solve this? By just collecting those notes. The simplest way was I put it in a Google Drive. Then I said, ki, how do I know that whether this is actually what people want or not? So I just made the link trackable. I made a trackable link, sent it across. Within 2 hours, more than 1,000 plus shares happened. So this is what you develop from the art of observation. So I observed. What did I observe? I observed that in the photocopy shop, it is always a line of like 50 students, 60 students. That's just where the observation started, right? तो observation समझ में आ गया, hypothesis build करना आ गया. यहां तक बात clear है? Is this clear to you guys? Give me a yes or no. Just raise your hands. I will understand if you understood till here. It is clear to you.
Yeah, we are getting a few yeses in the chats.
Awesome. बहुत बढ़िया, बहुत बढ़िया. ठीक है. So the next skill set, which is very important from a first principle standpoint, is called the art of prioritization. अब prioritization क्यों important है? The next question that you need to ask, ये क्यों important है? Prioritization क्यों important है? Okay, let me ask you a very good question. So you have not studied. Let's take an example. I am assuming that most of you guys study the way I used to study, which was just 2 days before the exam. So most of the people, like if I ask today to Rachna also, like for example, if I ask Rachna, ki agar, if you have 25 chapters to learn and your exam is after 2 days, what will you do? You will first prioritize those chapters in such a way that jahan se question sabse zyada aane wale hain, unko tum pehle padhoge. Does that make sense? So that you pass the exam in a very good manner.
Yeah.
Similar to everything in life, we have to prioritize. things, and a product manager needs to learn how to prioritize stuff, because we are always short on resources. A product manager is always short on resources as a company, because company ke paas bhi funding hai na, they have money, they cannot give you infinite resources, right? Now why? Because they cannot give you infinite resources, you have to make sure that you utilize the resources in such a way that give the best output. Similarly, जैसे कि अगर तुम्हें पता है कि 10 questions में से 8 questions are coming from these 3 chapters, you will learn these 3 chapters in the fastest way possible, so that you are able to answer 8 questions, right? Now, how do you develop this art of prioritization? Today, if I ask anyone, for example, I ask Ayush or Aditya or Anesh or Anushka, कि यार मुझे बताओ कि in the last 5 years what you have done, what you guys will do, you will start telling me the entire story. पता है पापा ने मेरे को बोला था IIT जाना है, फिर मैं IIT गई, फिर मुझे पता चला कि IIT में मजा नहीं आता है, फिर ये हुआ, फिर वो हुआ, फिर ऐसे हुआ, फिर वैसे हुआ, ठीक है? You will give me a story of 5,000 words, right? But what if I reverse the question and I say, tell me your story of the last 5 years in 200 words? Now this becomes hard. Now this becomes hard. You have to cut all the things which are not important and keep the most important things in the prioritization skill set. That's why writing is a very good skill set to develop prioritization. So whenever I typically hire people now, what do? I say, write me a PRD. PRD is called a product requirement document, but in 100 words. And that's a filter that you have to put across. Now, most people, trust me, fail to do that. It's very hard. So because if you develop this art of prioritization, everything that comes to your head now, you will start prioritizing. Anything that you start, it becomes like a mental gym. Writing is like a mental gym. So next time, whenever somebody gives you an idea, you will automatically start prioritizing those ideas. What are the things that are important? What are the things which are not important? So writing is a very, very good skill set. So most people ask me this question कि यार आप LinkedIn पे लिखते क्यों? Most people know this ki maybe because it gives you brand value or you are an expert, etc., ABCD, whatever and whatnot. But most people don't know this, that I write because there is a limit of 1300 characters, so that I can effectively prioritize my posts in such a manner so that people like the posts, and simultaneously I am able to write it in 1300 characters, and I am able to prioritize better, right? So what will it do for you? It will find out the impact areas of your life, declutter irrelevant information, put the most relevant one across. So one of the best ways to learn prioritization is constraint thinking. Constraint thinking matlab yahi hai. If you want to solve anything, if you want to learn anything, put a constraint. Put a constraint. Say ki, like, let me just ask you this interesting thing. For example, tomorrow Rachna has to make a house and Pallav also has to make a house, right? Both have to make a similar house, same size, same everything same. Rachna को मैं 25 लाख रुपए देता हूं, Pallav को आएगी 1 crore. Which person will be more creative? And they have to make the same house.
Rachna.
Obviously, Rachna. Obviously, you have to be more creative. Pallav has a lot of resources. So once you put constraints on what you want to achieve, automatically you will be effectively be able to come up with very good solutions. So my recommendation to all of you, the second actionable that I want to take today from this session is start writing, but put constraints in your writing. You don't have to write an essay. Just start writing on LinkedIn. Whatever you learned from this session, write a LinkedIn post. People will know about it. You will automatically learn what you have learned. And have you learned the more fundamental aspects that I want to put across? ठीक है, यहां तक बात clear है? Give me a yes or no in the chat, guys. Raise your hands or whatever through which I can say. Awesome. बहुत बढ़िया. Okay. The next step is the third most critical tenet of a great PM in terms of first principle thinking, is the art of feedback. After the art of prioritization comes the art of feedback. Now, why is feedback important? The simple question. The first question is, why is feedback important? Because there are two kinds of problems in this world. There are some problems which are deterministic problems. There are some problems which are non-deterministic problems. राइट? डिटर्मिनिस्टिक प्रॉब्लम का मतलब होता है तुम्हें दूध लेना है, तुम दूध की दुकान पे जाओ, तुम्हें दूध मिल जाएगा, तुम्हारा प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व हो गया. नॉन डिटर्मिनिस्टिक प्रॉब्लम का मतलब होता है, अब मैं ये बोलता हूँ यही प्रॉब्लम यू हैव टू सॉल्व फॉर 10 million people. It becomes a hard problem. It has so many variables. Do you have enough delivery partners? Is the pricing right? Do you have enough demand? Do you have enough supply? Do you have people who can deliver for you in the fastest possible SLA? Do you have electric vehicles? Do you n number of variables, right? So more the feedback, more the number of variables you will be able to add in the solving equation. So higher the feedback. So that's why product managers consistently spend a lot of time in getting the right feedback from the user, and they consistently talk to the user, right? Now, one of the problems that comes with feedback is something that is called as confirmation bias. How many of you know what is confirmation bias? अच्छा चलो, इससे आसान सवाल पूछता हूँ. कितने लोगों के घर में आज भी ऐसा लगता है कि जो लोग IIT जाते हैं उनका 1 करोड़ का पैकेज लगता है? मेरे घर में तो ऐसा ही लगता था, लेकिन ऐसा हुआ तो नहीं. तो दिस इज कॉन्फर्मेशन बायस का मतलब होता है इफ 100 people speak the same thing doesn't make it right. Another example I'll give you confirmation bias. Lot of parents, कई बार पेरेंट्स भी ये बोलते हैं कि बेटा ये घड़ी पहन लो, ये अंगूठी पहन लो, तुम्हारा गुस्सा खत्म हो जाएगा, तुम्हारा गुस्सा खत्म हो जाएगा, यार ये लॉकेट पहन लो, तुम्हें चांदी हो जाएगी लाइफ में, जो भी, whatever, ABCD, whatever you understood. So one of the things that a product manager has to understand is take feedback but remove bias from the feedback. And how do you do it? A very good way of doing it is a very, very simple manner, is to ask probing questions. Like अगर कल को तुम्हारी मम्मा तुम्हारे पास आके बोलती है बेटा ये पहन लो, इससे तुम्हें गुस्सा खत्म हो जाएगा, तो तुम you will not say yes, you will not say no, you will say okay mom, tell me किसके लिए काम किया है, क्यों काम किया है, why do you think it has worked for them, right? Why do you think it works for people? So product managers always ask probing questions and get more and more feedback, and put that feedback back into the product and consistently improve the product. तो क्या होता है, आर्ट ऑफ कंपैशन से हम शुरू करते हैं, आर्ट ऑफ कंपैशन से वहां से प्रॉब्लम को आइडेंटिफाई करते हैं, आर्ट ऑफ प्रायोरिटाइजेशन से वी विल आइडेंटिफाई द रिसोर्सेज व्हिच आर इंपॉर्टेंट. Then after the resources comes the art of feedback. We get a lot of feedback. We consistently improve. We keep on improving the product, till the point 70% of our users end up saying that this is what we want. At least 70%. And that stage is called as the, वो तुमने सुना भी होगा jargon, product market fit. When 70% of your users end up saying that this is the product that we want and we are willing to pay for it, is the stage when you say that it is product market fit. यहां तक बात क्लियर है, right? Another way to get feedback is to always take into account कि make the other person comfortable. What I mean by that, one of the very good ways that I do it is humor. मेरे लिए humor काम करता है. Humor is because when I'm humorous, people can easily talk to me. They talk to me, भैया मेरे को ये प्रॉब्लम है, मेरे ये दिक्कत है. अगर मैं कल को ये बोलता नहीं सर मैं तो डायरेक्टर हूँ, आई एम ए डायरेक्टर ऑफ प्रोडक्ट, मैं बड़ा आदमी हूँ, मैं ऐसे हूँ, मेरे से बात मत करो, तो people will not talk to you. So I use humor as my breaking the ice to effective. For other people, you can be comfortable, you can be a very good listener, and you can effectively get a lot of feedback. So आज in first sprint, I am not teaching you UI UX fundamentals. Today I am teaching you 3 core principles. One is start looking outward. दूसरों की प्रॉब्लम्स को देखो और उनको समझो, राइट? और उनकी बात सुनो, ठीक है? दूसरी बात जो मैं कह रहा हूं कि प्रायोरिटाइज करो, हमेशा चीजों को लिखना शुरू करो. स्टार्ट राइटिंग इज अ वेरी गुड वे टू लर्न प्रायोरिटाइजेशन, बट इन कंस्ट्रेंट्स, कि अगर मैं किसी की प्रॉब्लम को मुझे अगर 10 वर्ड में समझाना है, एक छोटा सा एग्जांपल देता हूं. Why do you think there is this word called elevator pitch? Elevator pitch क्यों है? क्योंकि you only get 60 seconds to tell your idea, right? ऐसा नहीं होता कि the other person will not give you more than 60 seconds, but the other person decides that after this 60 seconds whether this person is worth it to give 30 more minutes. So that is why start writing. And the third is get as much feedback करने के लिए always make yourself humble. Always be humble and get more and more feedback. use humor, use general psychological behavior of listening to other people. And once you do these three things again across any product, right, and you keep repeating this as a circle, repeating this as a circle, you reach to this stage called product market fit, and that will make you a very good product manager also, right? So the core levers we have understood: art of critical thinking or art of compassion, second, art of prioritization, third, art of feedback. And after we cover this art of feedback, this is where I want to kind of stop today, and just want to, before I start, I will be, hello. So is anyone saying something?
I think someone has switched on their mic by mistake.
Yeah. So this is where I'll stop today. And if there are any, I see there are a bunch of questions. So Pallav or Ayush, how do you want me to do this? There are a bunch of questions in the sheet. Should I take them, or should I just ask other people to ask questions and I can answer them?
Okay,
Right. I
so
think first we can take questions from the audience itself. In case people don't have them, maybe we could proceed to the sheet.
Sure, fair enough. Fair enough. So this is where I'm stopping today. I hope you like the session, guys. Yeah.
anyone wanting to ask any question can switch on their mics and ask them.
Okay. So I see Piyush. Yes, Piyush, go ahead, man.
Okay,
Yes.
there are two questions in the chat box. Uh, the first one I see is like uh, being an angel investor and a PM. What do you look for in a product to invest in and why?
Okay.
Since
So
you
I
are
think I
in
think it's a
startup.
very good question, and it's a very fair question that I typically get a lot of times. What I look at in while investing in a product are three things. The first thing is whether that idea has merit after 10 years, 20 years, 30 years or not, right? Whether that's a behavior that people will ascribe to in the next 10 years, 15 years or 20 years, right? So that is something that I keep looking out. Like one of the very good examples is after COVID, remote working is going to be very big. It is obviously we are all remote, right? So while if there is an idea that comes and says that we are solving something in remote working, I treat that as a good idea, that there might be a good idea around it. Similarly, healthcare, education, right, which are going to be big sectors, electricity, electric vehicles. So you look at sector specific information. That is something that I first look at. That's the first variable. The second variable is the team. Who is solving the problem? Do they understand the problem enough, right? Why are they rightly poised to solve the problem, right? And the third and the most important point, which is extremely critical, is that what culture they want to develop while they're developing the product. See, culture and product are very, very intricately tied. So a lot of people have good ideas, but not a lot of people can execute well. आइडिया यार 20 रुपए के भाव बिकते हैं, ये सच्ची बात है। 20 रुपए के भाव बिकते हैं आइडिया बहुत लोगों के पास होते हैं। कौन एग्जीक्यूट करेगा? और एग्जीक्यूट करने के लिए सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट होता है कल्चर, कि तुम लोगों को, आर यू गिविंग ऑटोनॉमी टू द राइट पीपल? इज योर टीम हैप्पी विद यू? इज योर टीम excited about the problem they're solving? Are you really passionate about the problem? So three things. First, is the sector growing? Is the market big enough? Second, who is solving the problem? Who are the founders? Why are they rightly poised? And the third thing is the team really passionate about it? मतलब टीम को लगना चाहिए, मतलब तुम्हें उनसे बात करके लगना चाहिए कि यार ये प्रॉब्लम, मतलब ये लोग तो करना चाहते हैं, इनके ये नहीं करेगा तो कोई और नहीं करेंगे. So these are the three variables I typically look at: size of market, the founder EQ, and the team, the passion of the team. At least these are the core three variables that I look at. Yeah.
Okay, we have another question. When did you decide you wanted to be a product manager and not pursue any other career domain?
Okay, a very interesting question actually. See, I became a product manager by serendipity. So I had a small startup in college. So I'll tell you the story. The story goes like this. So I had a small startup in college. which eventually me and two of my friends who were working in Facebook, they eventually sold it out to a company, right? So we made some money out of it. We made some money, at least at that point of time. मेरे को लगा यार कि यही करना है लाइफ में, कि लोगों की प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व करनी है और पैसा कमाना है. तो ये दो चीजें कैसे करेंगे? तो somebody gave me this interesting book called Inspired by Marty Kagan, and I read that book. And after I read that book, I realized कि अरे यार ये तो कुछ ऐसा ही कर रहे हैं. He's talking about something very similar to what I did, right? And that is when I said कि नहीं यार कुछ नहीं तो प्रोडक्ट मैनेजमेंट करके देखते हैं. और कुछ MBA एक बार गलती कर ली IIT जाके और ऐसी ब्रांच ले ली जो नहीं लेनी थी. दूसरी बार MBA में गलती नहीं करूंगा. दूसरी बार नहीं करूंगा. So I went to Flipkart, spent some time there, spent time with the product team, and eventually at that point of time in 2016 or 15 end, I had realized this कि नहीं यार PM ही बनना है, ये solve करते हैं तो अच्छा रहेगा. So that's the story. Yeah.
That was an exciting story. Mr. Ashwini Kumar, do you want to ask any questions?
Yes. Yes, sir. Just you said that we need to start writing something to prioritize, to learn the art of prioritization.
Yeah.
So, and you told the 1300 word limit of the LinkedIn. So,
Yeah.
but for us, we can start writing in 10 words suddenly, or even writing that much 1000 words suddenly. So, what could be a best limit of words we could start writing with in some of the topics to learn the art of prioritization?
So I think there is no constraint limit, but I would recommend is that 200 to 300 words is good enough, is more than good enough. So you can start writing any PRD, you can start writing any article that you like, you can start writing about any opinion that you have. You can just start writing about it and just but put that constraint that after 300 words, I will not go beyond it.
I mean to say that you have a lot of things to say in that writing because you have a lot of experience. But
Correct.
for us, for a beginner, we can't just start writing 1000 words in a row, or even can constrain ourselves to 100 words, 50 words, because it takes a lot of effort to do that. So that's what.
That is what I want you to do, na? That is exactly what I want you to do. So if you want to write for 200 words, spend some time. So it will take some thinking. So I don't want you to just start writing it as an essay. Guy, हमारी माता है, हमें ऐसे अभी ये करना है, वो नहीं करना है. You have to start by telling yourself that there is a constraint of 200 words. I have to write on an article or a topic I want to put across. I have read the topic. I have outlined it somewhere, and then you start writing in 200 words and try to understand that why it makes sense, why it doesn't. It will be hard. Initially, it will be hard. It's going to take time. It's not easy. If it would have been easy, then why it's a first principle? It's not a first principle then. It's a hard thing. So you have to start by, but you have to start. Maybe you start by not 200 words, but 300 words. But 200 to 300 words is more than enough. More than enough. Yeah.
Ashwini, are you satisfied with the answer?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Got that. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Rahul, you want to say something?
Yeah. Hello, sir. Good evening. So I have a doubt. Yeah. Am I audible? Hello.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Sir, I try to get feedback on my work, and I try to consistently get feedbacks from others. So, but I felt difficulty in getting the feedbacks. Right, like sometimes I I reacted on them, and that is difficult for me to accept that feedback. And some persons give wrong feedback also. So
Okay.
how to get right feedbacks? How what is the right time? What is the right place? And who is the right person for asking feedbacks?
See, honestly, getting the feedback, there is no right or wrong here. You can get the feedback, but you have to understand what to take from that feedback and apply it to your learning or not. So what I mean by that is that, for example, you talk to your colleagues, the people who are working with you, and listen to them. One of the things that I am consistently keep telling you is feedbacks can be brutal. They can be bad. It is okay. So that's why you have to remove bias. Opinion को value मत दो. मतलब अगर मैं बोलूंगा राहुल अच्छा इंसान नहीं है, that's not important. Important is Why am I saying that Rahul is not a good person? So you consistently probe ki, okay, if you don't like my style of working, what is the problem? Where is the problem? And you consistently keep trying to probe so that you get something actionable out of it. So get feedback from your colleagues, get feedback from your manager, get feedback from the people that you work across, and listen to them. Don't get agitated because somebody has given you a wrong feedback, or wrong me. I would not say wrong feedback, but rather any feedback. Don't get agitated. Just note down those points, take out actionable, and try to put them across in your learnings. And that is how you should do it. And simultaneously, if you think that if you're talking to your manager, Rahul, may I ask, do you work somewhere?
Sir, not in any company or startup, but I am in worked in a club like institute body as well.
Okay, fair enough. So just ask it then with your colleagues. Take that feedback, be very calm about it, break down that feedback into actionable points, and then learn from it. Basically, you have to be prepared with the fact that feedbacks can be brutal. That is something that you have to understand. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rahul. Um, Mr. Priyansh Pandey, the stage is all yours.
Yeah. Hi, sir.
Yeah. Hey, Priyansh.
Sir, you talked about first principles thinking. So I want to know how to develop it. Like being in business club, we have heard a lot about structured thinking,
Yeah.
and we try to develop that thing. So is it similar to first principles thinking, or is it something different? I mean, what's the differences?
Yes, the difference, see, structured thinking basically means is there a pathway or a strategy towards a goal? That's a structured thinking. First principle thinking is more on the baseline level. First principle thinking basically means, do you know the fundamental first principle or the fundamental idea of any particular solution that you're trying to put across? So what I mean by that is, for example, if you want to raise funds for the fest that you have, so there's a structure to it. You will go to the sponsors, you will talk to the sponsors will give their quote, you will give your quote, and there's a structure, and you will learn and you will raise funds. First principle thinking basically means, why in the first place would somebody will give you funding? Why would they do that, right? What is the value that you are giving to the end user, right? So in order to develop this, there are a bunch of books that I recommend. The first book that I recommend is this book called Thinkertoys. I will write it in the I cannot even write it in the chat, unfortunately. There is this book called Thinkertoys, t Thinkertoys. Thinkertoys, it's a very good book. It has very good examples around it. And then there is another book called Range, why generalists survive in a specialized world. So it is structured thinking basically means how you build a strategy towards a goal. First principle thinking basically means what is the fundamental axiomatic idea which provides the why of any action that you're doing. Awesome.
Priyansh,
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, sir.
Awesome.
so
Thank you.
we have a question in the chat box. What's your defense mechanism when some decision backfires?
What is the defense mechanism or some decision backfires? You leave the company and you get fired. Nahi yaar, I'm kidding. So I think there should always be some sense of, you have to learn that when you're a product manager, mistakes happen, right? But the defense mechanism is to learn from your mistake. Do you have enough understanding of the metrics, or are you tracking the information in such a way so that you have an understanding that whatever you put across was actually valuable to the user? So that is why whenever you build a feature, or whenever you build a solution, you always build a very good tracking mechanism, that how do I measure the success of this feature? If the success of the feature is not good, right, then you stop the feature midway or do something around it. We'll figure it out. But this is something extremely important, that if a particular feature backfired, then you take it upon yourself and try to improve it in the next feature, or the next to next feature. That is something that you intend to do. But most people fail to put a tracking mechanism only. So you build a very strong tracking mechanism, see whether there is growth, is there enough growth, are you getting the metrics that you wanted to see across? And if you're not getting those metrics, then you have a plan B. You make some sort of a plan action that if this doesn't work, there is another feature that I'm going to roll out, which is going to work in a certain way. Yeah.
That was very
Okay,
insightful,
sir.
sir.
And also, sir, a follow-up. Rachna, can I speak for a minute?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, sir, I also wanted to ask the kind of companies that you've worked in, and specifically the scale of the you've worked in. How do you get your ideas across the whole product management team? Like, how do you convey your how do you convey what you want to actually say? Is it using just convincing power?
See, ideally, that is where you have to understand that you have to become more data driven, right? Because as long as people are talking on opinions, right? Opinions will always be different from one person to another person. What you have to understand is, can you use data as a vector and tell people that why it makes sense? So whenever you write a PRD or any document that you want to convince across, you get reference data, sample data from the outside, right? Like for example, I want to build a product which is for kids and they want to do live classes in the kids. I will take a sample, I will take a similar market, which is China as a market. I will see, is there a product there who have some sort of funding or some sort of growth there. I'll see their metrics, use the similar kind of data in our market and say that this is what the Chinese market is doing. We have a very similar market, and this is what we want to get from that particular feature or product, right? So data helps, obviously helps. If you have data, it helps. If it doesn't help, then you have to come up with a very strong strategy or some analogy around it. Always there will be some analogy or some other parallel product which exists in the market. 99% of the time there is some parallel product which will exist in the market, through where you can take some metrics and effectively drive and build a very good strategy to convey your thoughts across.
Priyansh, is it okay?
No, I'm so sorry.
Pallab, you may ask your question.
Okay. So, sir, am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible, Pallav.
So, I wanted to ask, how much impact does the MBA have on a career if you want to pursue MBA? Like, is it really important, or one can directly get into it after the undergraduation?
You can directly get after undergraduation. MBA, see, don't do an MBA just because you want to become a PM. If you want to become a PM, there are a bunch of other things that you can do. You can do multiple courses are there. You can build a product portfolio. I have shared my portfolio multiple times on the YouTube channel that I have. You can start writing on LinkedIn. Writing on LinkedIn is a very, very powerful thing. If you start writing on LinkedIn and start writing about products, people get to know you. They will reach out to you. So do an MBA for the experience. Don't do it for just because you want to become a PM. ISB इसलिए मत ज्वाइन करो कि तुम्हें प्रोडक्ट मैनेजर बनना है तो पोर्टफोलियो बनाओ. पोर्टफोलियो बनाने से अच्छी कोई चीज नहीं है. Make a very good portfolio, very strong portfolio. Do an MBA for the experience, that you want to make very good peers, you want to learn from those peers, and you want to do a bunch of other things. You want to build a very strong network, you want to learn finance, management and other things like that. तो उसके लिए करो. Product management के लिए MBA जरूरत नहीं है. हाँ, if you do an MBA, it helps. I never say it won't help, but it is not desired. It's not a necessary condition, right? It's not a necessary condition. Yeah.
Sir, I also had a second question. Can I ask that or two?
Yeah, please.
So when we read about product management, then basically we have three skills which come under that. First one is the design. Second is the business acumen that the product manager must have, and the third is the technical skills. So can you just shed some light on the technical skills that the product manager must have?
See, ideally, consumer product managers don't need to have technical skills. Most companies which are consumer-driven companies, B2C companies, right? They don't require. Facebook has removed that condition at all. If you apply to Facebook, they would not even have a technical round with you. They would not care, right? But if you really want to learn technical skills, there is this very nice book called Swipe to Unlock. And there is another book called Tech Simplified written by Deepak Singh, who is a friend of mine. So yes, you learn a little bit about API, you learn a little bit about how the internet works, you learn a little bit about system design, what kind of systems you want to learn about. You learn a little bit about in general structures of the architectural structures. You learn a little bit about that. But in totality, you learn a little bit about how you use the front end of a website. the how can you inspect element. You do bunch of things around APIs ho gaya, how the internet works, system design, architectural level structures, then front end structures. So you learn bunch of things around it, and that is all that you need. There's nothing more than that you would require. So these two books are good enough. Swipe to Unlock and Tech Simplified. That is more than enough for you to learn. But it's not a necessary condition. If you know it, it's a very good thing. Learn SQL also. SQL is very important from a data product management point also. So if you are able to fetch out the data by yourself, that is something so learn SQL also. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay, we had a question in the chat. You talked about gamification. What's the future of gamification?
So gamification is fun. It's fun, but the whole point of gamification is that you effectively give some value or joy to the end user. Gamification doesn't mean making games. Gamification basically means making an experience a joyful experience, right? Like for example, you must have seen when Google Pay initially launched, they launched a wheel feature. You click on a wheel and you get some sort of reward. That's gamification, right? So the future of gamification is going to be, at least what I feel, is going to be a lot more on augmented reality. It's good, 100% it's going to be augmented reality. You will see that you go to Amazon, you can actually wear some Oculus device, and that particular product will actually come out, and you will be able to see the product in real time basis. There was a very good startup which was doing something on those lines called Magic Leap. I don't know if you've heard of Magic Leap or not, but the future of gamification is moving towards AR and VR. That is for sure. And simultaneously, what I also feel is that in the future of gamification, we will also focus a lot more on data-driven design. What I mean by data-driven design is that a particular structure of data presented in a certain way, that is also going to be very, very useful for making decisions.
Another question. How does the modus operandi shift as you work across different product domains?
Okay. Product domains. What do you mean by product domains here? Do you mean industries, or do you mean something else?
Like you have worked in like most of the work that you have done are in technical side of the product management, right?
Okay. Okay. See, if
So
you mean industries, modus operandi doesn't change much. If you mean industries, right? Because the principles of product management are similar. They are very, very structured. They are very similar. Like you need to be very good in first principle thinking. You need to be very good with design thinking. You need to be very good with analytics and experimentation. You need to be very good with UI UX. You need to be very good with simultaneously growth structures. So they don't change. But if you mean that if you move from the type of role like data product manager to a technical product manager, then it changes, because the TPM needs to know. Generally, TPMs come from engineering background. So if you come from engineering background, you will learn a lot. You will be effectively be able to make better choices. So if you are talking about roles, a growth product manager, data product manager, then it changes, right? But the principles remain the same. But across industry, I don't think there is a lot of change. Yeah.
sir, Pallav, you want to ask something?
Rachna,
Pallav, you are on.
Rachna, I have another call in like 5-10 minutes. So can
Oh,
we
okay.
finish wrap up the session in next 2-3 minutes?
Yeah. So thank you, sir, for an enlightening presentation. Your insights on keeping the user on the driver's seat and art of observation was especially very useful. So with this, we come to the end of the session. Thank you for joining us, sir. We are really grateful for the time and effort you took to share your
Please,
thoughts.
thank you very much for inviting me, guys, and please do follow me on LinkedIn and simultaneously on YouTube also. Thank you very much. ये हर एक influencer बोलता है तो मैं भी बोल रहा हूँ.
Thank you, sir. It was a
चलो,
very nice experience.
I hope you liked it. Thank you very much.
We loved it.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
We will leave now. Thank you, everyone.